Hey, what's up? This is Ryan Hoover with Aperture and Fit to Fight. I'm here with Jared and Rashad. They're helping me out. I get asked a ton about multiple attackers, multiple opponent kind of thing. I'm a big believer in there's no fighting multiple people. There's fighting one person, one at a time, multiple times. I can't engage two people at the same time and expect to win. Okay, so, you know, Van Damme split kick him. It sounds cool, and I wish I could do it, but it just doesn't work. I'm gonna try to engage one at a time, and maybe I engage one, and I'm able to bail. If I can take his consciousness and take his heart, that's awesome. That's fantastic. I only have to fight one dude at a time.
What do you mean by that?
I hit him so hard and so viciously that Rashad's like, I don't really like Jared that much anyway. So I don't have to fight two people. De-escalate, if I can talk myself out of it, then absolutely that's what I would do. But if I can't, I'm gonna try to engage them in a way that I'm only engaging one at a time.
If I had some kind of environment where I could get to that would force them to be in a line, a linear environment like a hallway, you know, that I can exploit those type of motions.
So that maybe I draw one out by trying to play to their ego. I may pick the biggest guy. I may pick the mouthpiece. It just depends on what I'm feeling, the totality of the circumstance. But normally I'm trying to pick the guy that I feel like is the leader of the group. If I can take him out, it's less likely that everybody else gets involved. No, there's no guarantees. I'm just going with what's worked for me in the past. If you've seen us do power slaps before, lineup punches, that kind of thing.
Sampal, okay, a slapping motion.
I want to take him out first and then go to the next one if he's still engaged. So we'll look at it just from an empty hand standpoint initially. If this is what I've got, I've kind of lined up these two guys. I wouldn't want to be here. I want to play outside of the elbows a little bit to where I'm not square. Once I'm outside, I open up that lead foot, I'm talking with my hands. We're gonna go with an open hand slap. So I'm just from here, I'm targeting the jawline, using the heel of my palm and then following through this way.
Protecting the fist, so I'm not just hitting with the front of the fist, which can cause a lot of damage to the hand, but I'm using the palm in angular motions, okay, so.
Hip, shoulder, legs engage. My hip and my shoulder go first and the rest of my hand follows. And that's my shot. Again, there's a lot of psychology into this. I'm trying to raise his ego, lower his guard. I want him to kind of think he's got me. The guy that I can hit that's doing this, that's like Christmas and my birthday at the same time. His arms are splayed, they're behind him, and he sticks his head out. That's awesome. So if I've got this set up, I'm gonna crack the first one, boom, and then I'm gonna immediately look to engage the second one, reset my hip and shoulder and go again. So I'm using my hands, I'm trying to draw this guy in, and once I've cracked him, I immediately have to go to him. So from here, it's, and then from there, I'll have to engage. I'll have to decide, can I just bail, can I run? Do I have another threat that I have to deal with? Whatever it's gonna be. If I'm armed, I can articulate that deadly force could be used here. I definitely could use some force multipliers in this situation. I've got two dudes, they're both bigger and stronger than I am. I can articulate why I went to higher force in this situation. So if that's the case, in training we can engage some inert weapons, some inert tools that we use a lot here. The SIRT pistol from Next Level and the AccuStrike knife. But the same initial thing where I need to, if I just try to draw from here, if I go to my waistband from here, Jared's gonna see that, he's gonna preempt. So I'll do all the same things as before, I'll make my shot, and then now maybe I draw and I go to whichever one I can get to first, and then I continue moving through my weapon platforms based on how much space I have, how much room I have, all these kinds of things.
Take the shot first. I mean, you're creating an opportunity then to
That's
go.
right.
Okay.
If I just go straight to my waistband, because this is blink of an eye range here. If my hands are up, I'm talking to this guy, and I go here first, he's not gonna allow that to happen. He's gonna punch me, he's gonna grab my hands, and punch me, all these kinds of things. So I take that first shot, hopefully that one takes him out. If it doesn't, then I have this that I can go to and I can start engaging other weapons. Maybe I have other threats that I have to deal with. What I go to depends on totality of circumstance. Maybe my family is here. Maybe Rashad's grabbed somebody in my family. I'm not gonna take that shot then. So all these things are gonna come into play, but these tools allow us to do that without pain penalties. Lets me recognize when I'm getting stabs, when I'm getting slashes, when I'm getting shots on target, and if my shots are missing. So if I make this stab here, and I take this shot here, I see it hit that wall first, okay, I know that I potentially injured somebody that was behind Rashad.
Right.
So inert tools like this, the certain AccuStrike, are really important for these kinds of drills.
And this
So-
isn't a tutorial on the draw stroke or...
No.
None of that.
I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to that kind of stuff. Jared actually could speak a lot better to those kinds of skill sets than me. This is just a lesson on my ability to transition from empty hand to different weapons platforms based on circumstance, and not just blink of an eye range and I decide to do this, or I decide to do this. Because I can't tell you how many times I read, well, 2 guys, you know, I'll just shoot them. Well, okay, but I have to get there first. If it's a race from here to there, I'm gonna lose. There's no way. So that's why I need to engage him empty hand first, and then I can go to these other weapons. He should have stabbed this guy first and then shot 2 rounds to this guy and then went back to 2 rounds for that guy and whatever. He should have moved this way instead of that way.
Should have been further away, you know, these types of things.
Why the gun? Why the knife? Why not just the gun?
Yeah.
Who needs the knife?
Yeah.
And the answer is, it depends. It always is gonna it's always gonna depend on the circumstances. If Rashad were a little further away, maybe I would have done something else. If Rashad were a little closer, maybe I would have done something else. If I was able to get outside of Jared's elbows a little bit more, maybe I would have tried to choke him instead of punched him first. There's all kinds of things that are gonna come into play. Maybe
Environmental factors, you know.
absolutely.
walls,
Where are we? You know, are we between vehicles? Because that's going to change. And now my lateral movement is almost 0. So all those things are going to come into play. That's why it's important just to understand concepts and principles and not get too hung up on, well, why this technique and not that technique.
Your fight is going to be your problem to solve, and so there's no one answer for everything. Hey guys, I'm Jared Wihongi here with Funker Martial Arts, and we're going to talk a little bit here about multiple attackers, okay? And specifically, we're going to talk about Kali tactics and the symmetry of Kali and how it assists deal with multiple attacker scenarios. When I talk about the symmetry of Kali, a lot of times in Kali you'll see this this triangle method of training be applied. And a triangle is a pattern that shows strike angles and also footwork movement. And that footwork movement is dealing with the triangle where I'm going from one side of this triangle and going to that other side. So I do go from a right lead position to a left lead position. So I'm kind of doing both of those positions, and I get very comfortable fighting from either lead. And tactically, one is going to be preferred over another. In a weapon versus weapon scenario, generally speaking, we fight with our weapon hand forward. So my keeping my left side of my body a little further away from my opponent so that I'm presenting less targets. However, if this was a scenario where I had a weapon and my opponent did not, then I would prefer my left lead, so I'm protecting my weapon, because his best defense against me is going to be able to control my weapon bearing limb. So I keep that away and I use my support hand to defend and keep my weapon in battery. We train a lot with left and right lead, okay, and that translates to weapons, longer weapons, short weapons, empty hand even, where I'm fighting comfortable on my right lead or lead hand fighting or my left lead position. If I've got multiple attackers, I need to be able to face those attackers in a way that I'm not turning my back on the other attackers, okay? And now, if the only way that I was comfortable fighting was left lead, for some reason I had to engage this person first. And this is obviously a worst case scenario, right? I'm in a corner here, so I got to deal with him. If I had to deal with this guy first and I moved here, what have I done to this guy? I put him to my back, right? Whereas if I'm able to fight in a more symmetric nature and I can deal with this person here with my right lead and then effectively deal with this person with my left lead, then I can adapt to the position without never having to turn my back on one of these people. We train to be very competent and confident with the right lead, because that's a lot of times how we do our weapon fighting. And the left lead, we do the same. We call it exploiting outside line. I don't want either of my opponents to be able to exploit my outside line. Obviously, tactically, if I can get in a position where I'm lining my opponents up, if I was able to get to a position where I'm able to get them in a line, okay, and keep them in a line, then I never have to deal with two at the same time. I'm lining them up, dealing with one, and then hopefully be able to take him out of the equation and deal with the second.
And then from there, I'll have to engage. I'll have to decide, can I just bail? Can I run? Do I have another threat that I have to deal with? Whatever it's gonna be.
So if I can line my opponents up, that's gonna be ideal.
I'm gonna try to engage them in a way that I'm only engaging one at a time.
If I had some kind of environment where I could get to that would force them to be in a line, a linear environment like a hallway, you know, that I can exploit those type of motions. Now, another element of Kali that assists is the traditional way of putting power into strikes. We don't just train to put power here in front of me in these positions, okay? We actually train to put power in front, but also to the side. That's what we call sidestepping motions. So as I am striking here and putting power here, I can, with my footwork, essentially I'm turning, it's basically heel out versus heel in. Heel out power, we call triangle power. Heel in power, which allows me to turn my body and hit targets to the side or to the back with power. Meaning if someone was behind me and I just turn here, bang, and I hit there, I'm dealing with opponents in front and in back. Now, as I do that, power in front, power to the side, front, with this side-stepping footwork. Okay. Now, if this was say I didn't have a weapon and I apply the same principles, I can put power here in front of me, and then behind me, use angular strikes, whether it's an elbow or a hack with my hand or a hammer fist, but I'm able to put a lot of power behind me, not just in the sport model, or my opponent's always here in front of me, but here, bang, hitting someone behind me with a hack. For example, somehow he got behind me, I go here, and then boom, this is turning here, maybe an elbow, it may be a hack, and then boom, turning back to the person in front of me. So principles of power generation in front, power generation to the side, power generation behind, and feeling comfortable with both leads so that I don't have to ever turn my back on my opponent. So this is some ideas how to apply fundamental Kali principles and the symmetry of it in multiple attacker scenarios. So one of the other Kali principles as it applies to empty hand, even multiple attacker scenarios, is the thrust and slash principle. And what that means is essentially the way that we hit with the hand. A lot of people will call this panuntukan, pangamot, different the empty hand subsystems of Kali. And a lot of times we don't just strike with the front of the hand. Okay, in the sport model, a lot of times we'll hit with the side of the hand. Okay. Jabbing with as if I was holding a knife. A lot of times we'll hit with the forearm hacking, and a lot of times we'll do an angular movement called sampal, okay, a slapping motion. And because Kali practitioners train a lot putting power into strikes with batons, sticks, knives, these angular motions, you learn to generate a lot of power with that same movement. And then I learned to harness that movement to the empty hand, protecting the fists. So I'm not just hitting with the front of the fist, which can cause a lot of damage to the hand, but I'm using the palm in angular motions. Okay, so as that applies here, just kind of demonstrate. We typically don't do a fluid motion, because fluid would go here, and now my hand will end across the body, and that leaves a vulnerability here. We usually will do a circular motion and come back here. Okay, so the motion is here. Okay. So this is what I'm gonna do now. Slash to thrust. Okay, so it's two motions. Okay. So I'm going slash to thrust. Okay, so again applying the principles of the knife or the stick into these motions here. 1, 2. Okay, so slashing, thrusting, and then this is my number 1 angle in a circular movement. Okay, and so the motion can be not set from here, but it can be from a fairly passive position, and then bang, okay, hitting here. And then if I was going to practice a 2 angle, I could do it I could be hitting the same person, or I could be hitting another attacker in a multiple attacker scenario. So the movements are okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? And the 2 angle, again, contact with the blade of the forearm. Hacking is what we call that.